Do-Rag Wisdom here, folks, and welcome to Earth Date Y2k 19.02.15. And today I have important information for my subscribers. I have to do this every so often. So the first thing I want to tell you folks is I want to thank all of you for your continued support. I will bring you quality kitchen sink do-rag wisdom commentary, and by kitchen sink I mean right out of my house in my neighborhood. And I got this kitchen sink term from director Mick Jackson, who called his classic nuclear war thriller Threads a kitchen sink nuclear war drama. And by the way, I don't mean do-rag wisdom to be a cultural misappropriation. I have dubbed myself that name partially out of respect for my ex-students who were forced to remove their do-rags before they entered the school building. I intend to talk more about this another time, but if I could, I too would have worn a do-rag to my teaching job, and an array of other hats if I had my way. Also, for those who soldier through these broadcasts, I made 5 of these F Trump shirts. I would not want you to think that you'd have to smell as well as watch these broadcasts. Now, just like I will avoid giving you trigger warnings when I can, please, none of you ever have to give me trigger warnings. Please, you don't have to do that. Such as when we disagree. Never, ever be concerned about disagreeing with me, because I promise that in the months ahead, it's going to get weirder and weirder. So please feel free to just disagree, and that rhymes. Please feel free to disagree. And never preface your remarks with any concern over your disagreement. Folks, this is a free speech area. As long as you are not using hate speech, which is also free speech, and by hate speech I mean vitriol directed at people's race, creed, religion, ethnic group, and sexual orientation. I mean, I do a lot of lambasting religion on my site, but as you see, it's not in the form of hate speech directed at anyone's particular religion. If I am the kind of person who gets offended when folks disagree with him, I don't deserve your valuable time and your precious patronage. And simply put, if I don't like your disagreement, you should tell me to go and fuck myself. Simply. And this brings me to Israel and Zionism. In the months ahead, much may be brought up about Israel, but I promise to keep tribal, ethnic broadcasts to a minimum. And this too all depends on the news cycle. Much is being written about Congressperson Omar. I hope that when I cover this, I do it so that you don't think me a bigot. However, in relation to tribal, ethnic, or religious matters, bigotry could be a matter of course, depending on the tribe. And full disclosure, for the benefit of those visiting this page for the first time, I am an American Jewish atheist who is a Zio-democratic socialist, which means I am a democratic socialist that supports Zionism in all the historic lands of Israel, including what they call the quote-unquote West Bank. Note that the first part of my identification is the word American, which means that in matters of voting, I will vote for any front-running Democrat, whether I despise them or not. Because for now, we have a two-party constitutional democratic republic where a third party, sorry, doesn't matter and basically serves as a spoiler. And in this era, it is the Democratic Party that happens to be standing for the rule of law. Not the Trumpists, formerly the Republican Party. I mean, I hope the Republican Party comes back in its true original self at some point, or whatever that self is, but conservative but not crazy. Now, I despise Mike Bloomberg, a fellow Jewish tribal member. I worked in his New York City school system toward the end of my career. But I will vote for him if he is the Democratic Party choice. And I consider myself, once again, an independent Democratic socialist. But I am not a member of the Democratic Party. I register as a Democrat in New York State because you have to register for a party if you want to vote for, a primary, whatever it is. Now, I also despise, and I hate to say this, the Jew-hating Congressperson Omar. But I promise, once again, to vote for her if one day she becomes the Democratic presidential candidate. I avidly will always support Israel, but as long as I live in the USA and was born here, I owe it my primary support. I refuse to accept the notion that I need fascism in the USA so that Israel will be safer. Okay, do you folks want a script or stream of consciousness? For those visiting here the first time, and to those who subscribe, I switch off between speaking impromptu and using a script. Like today, I'm using a script. Writing scripts, by the way, forces me to do more work. And it makes me do more work for you. So I have to continue to switch off whenever it is appropriate between impromptu and scripted. But please let me know how you feel about that. Do you want me to do yelling and screaming? I never want to be disingenuous in my public feelings, ladies and gentlemen. I certainly can act if I wish, but I would rather be sincere. If you want me to do more yelling and screaming as I used to do, please let me know, because I am a volcano of feelings ready to erupt in nuclear fury. But the reason I'm trying to be calmer is because, one, erupting gets old after a while and nothing is left after the eruption. And two, racist, birther, bastard, terrorist, mobster, thug, liar, sociopath, and hair monster Trump enjoys when he knows that sane folks in our country erupt in a rage whenever he opens his sewer. So I decided, after coming home from my last cruise, to not allow this filthy fiend to make me erupt. I can't promise this will always be so, but in this war we need to have cool, logical, and rational heads. However, if you want me to go off more often, please let me know, and I will try and make it good. Meanwhile, Stephen Colbert has a segment on his show called Meanwhile, because he realizes that the hair monster goon Trump is taking all the air out of the room. So please be aware, when I cover other matters of movies, TVs, and movies in general, and the media in general, I'm doing this just to cover other matters so that creep isn't allowed to take all the air out of the room, and also to stay honest with the theme of my blog. I save all my message board responses that many people send to me. I apologize that I do not always get back to you personally, and I apologize. But please be aware that I try to get back to as many as I can, so I hope that YouTube informs you all when I respond. I hope you get a little note. In the meantime, your time is valuable, and I understand if you only respond to those topics of interest to you. Check back at your older posts you sent me, and you may see a response there, because I do go back and whenever I can to do that. Thank you all for your participation and for your comments. You can visit me on Facebook, where you can enjoy articles from the Washington Post. I am under the name Gary Pearl, that's spelled P-E-R-L, which is my legal name. And I never had any problem with anyone knowing what my legal name was, because I stand personally by everything that I say. We have to deal with the real national emergency. We have a goon, Trump, who was installed by Putin to do exactly what he is doing. And Hair Monster Trump will use any distraction, false national emergencies, shutdowns, and the like, to avoid his culpability in his crimes. That's going to distract us also. I intend to do a broadcast on methods of fighting the sociopath in chief next week. With your input, I will discuss any suggestion you send to me from before and between now and next week. There are rules for defeating Count Dracula. In a certain way, we must look to movies and to fiction to help get our country out of the siege it is under. Ours is a combination black comedy, satire, suspense, psychological, paranoid thriller, speculative fiction and fantasy, and horror. Oh, and by the way, I said that I will try to avoid trigger warnings. When this entire freaking broadcast is a trigger warning? Oh well, kick me in the ass and call me Smiley.